on the floor. I fell out of bed. And I woke up cracking up.
How many times has this dog murdered?
One time Kelly was gone, and Kelly found him on the side of the freeway, on ramp, dead. She came back and made me give her the baby, and I gave her the baby, and she tried to break the news to me that Romeo was found dead. He had been gone a week. And so I got on the phone, I called Keith and Jeff and Mom, and I'm crying, I'm sitting out in front, and all of a sudden this van pulls up, and pulls up to the house next door, and the van doors open up, and Romeo comes out like Superman. I'm like, holy crap, I come back in with Romeo, and she about passed out.
Yeah. It was another dog identical to him.
It's been
gone for 2
crazy.
days.
He came back so many times.
Not the last time.
Not the last time.
He is.
A crazy lady wrapped him up in a rope and suffocated him.
Oh,
Well, okay, stop.
Not fair.
Okay, we're here for a purpose, and I don't want to go way off track.
Yeah.
You'd be laughing, trust me.
That's why my Romeo didn't come back last time.
I mean, seriously.
You clowning more.
Smack him.
Okay.
Look how bad.
No. Rude. You know he's the love of my life. Best
Okay,
man I
Betty,
ever had.
Betty, we're here today for David, and I want all serious. I mean, we can have fun and laugh, seriously. I really mean that. I really do, but I just don't want it to be crazy, like, you know, unrelated to David. Really, the whole point of this, David's been gone over a year now, and every one of us, I know, Miriam, you're new to the family, and Bree, have you met David? Did you ever meet David? Wonderful, wonderful. But we all have a place in, you know, David's life, in the story of David. So it's just really, with COVID, we didn't get a chance to do anything, and of course it was so sudden with David that it just was the perfect opportunity with Sherry's that we're all going to be in one place, and David mattered. And it just did not feel right not to do anything. And I feel like I'm just very thankful that we're all able to do this. For whatever it's worth, I have David's face up there, have all these, put these together, just memories of David, because it's not your typical memorial service. And just FYI, I talked to Michelle about doing this, and she wanted to she's covering the cost of all these, and I'm actually going to send one home with each of you guys, boys. Like Jeff, I'm sure you're going to want like a hunting one, for instance. You guys will get a hunting collage, and so I just think that there's just really nice little mementos of David, some of his life. So each of us, you know, like anybody else, we all have a unique and individual journey in life, and every one of us had a very unique and individual relationship with David. Mom has had the longest, and I'm next. And then I guess Michelle. And there's Betty. I'm sorry, Betty. I'm sorry. You're right, Betty. Of course, it starts here with the Petersons. You're right. You're right. But so the purpose here is just to share some memories, some thoughts, whatever it is that makes you feel like you just want to just say what's on your heart, your thoughts and memories and feelings about David. And we all just respect each other's because they're all unique and different, right? Every single one of them. Betty and I are sisters, equally related to David, and we have very different relationships with David, our brother. And he had different relationships with each of us. So this is what I think we all just have to realize, when we might learn some things from each other about David that we just hadn't heard. And I hope that's what it is for you guys
I'll
today.
start because
You
I have
start.
the oldest memories.
Yes, you do.
One of the things that I don't know if y'all know, that when he was in middle school, he used to feel so bad that I was home alone and no one there all day, so he would run. And how far do you think that was?
Oh, at least a mile each way.
He would run home at lunch and have lunch with me and then run back so that I wasn't home alone the entire day. That's just sweetness, you know.
It is.
He had a good heart. And then I guess the other memories I have when he was young was being out in the backyard when he was doing pitching practice and the balls coming in and hitting. I didn't have pads or anything, and he'd come in that hard ball and hit me in the shins, and oh, it hurt so bad. But it was good.
It was good.
He pitched a no-hitter. So that, yeah, a lot of sports memories with him.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you were giving him
I had one
signals.
game where I called, right, I called
the
all
stands.
his pitches that no one knew. We had secret signs, because I was a scorekeeper, so I was off to the side. I called every pitch in that game, and he pitched a no-hitter.
Yeah, so get this. She's the scorekeeper. Sounds like a little conflict of interest. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
No, but he had like, how many
Okay, Mom.
possible strikeouts could you have?
I don't know. I'm just teasing.
They
you.
played 6 innings,
Yeah.
and he had like 15 strikeouts.
I know.
Hello.
I know. It is what it
Overhand or
is.
overhand?
Yeah, that was Little League.
Oh, Little League.
Yeah. Yeah, he had 15 Ks in that game.
And when he was in Little League, one of the things, our best friends next door, the Heights, had a girl and boy, David and my age, and so Kevin was in Little League with him too. They were never on the same team, I don't think,
Never.
which is probably good. Just kind of mix it up.
Because they had like a draft system. You had no
Yeah.
control, you know.
But Kim and I would get our paper towels, our mom's rolls of paper towels, and fold them, fan fold them, tie them up, and make little
Flowers.
pitiful pom-poms out of paper towels. We were not official. There's no such thing as cheerleaders. But we were going to cheer our brothers on. And I remember some dad going, what is this, sponsored by Z Paper Towels?
But yeah, he was real athletic anyway. He played the baseball, football, and water polo.
I didn't remember water
In high
polo.
school. Yeah, in high school. And he said that was the hardest sport of all,
Yeah, I bet.
was water polo. He said the practices were just terrible.
Well, I remember his motocross too.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, he
Oh.
was crazy. I remember screaming and embarrassing him so bad because they had 2 jumps right in front of the stands, and it was like his first time ever racing. He bought the bike and decided he was going to race, and had lunatic style about him. He just went, and they were on a jump in front, and his pegs locked with another racer.
wheel.
His wheel and pegs, yeah. And they crashed, and he still got second overall. That poor guy
He was
didn't
good.
crush
Broke his
the other
back.
guy, yeah.
broke his back and never walked again. But David still got second overall.
He was really good.
Yeah, he was
DJ.
good.
You would
He was
appreciate
good
that
at
because
motor.
you've done that,
Grandma
haven't
Pete
you?
was telling me about how he, would race and all this stuff, and after him going and watching him race, it was like, all right, let's gear you up now, because
Yeah,
you should be doing this, basically. Is what he was telling me.
exactly. And I was like Betty because I was not a big, we did our Z. When we were in the stands in Irwindale, I remember
Terrified.
screaming with excitement and cheering him. It's like,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I don't know what came over us, but
Oh yeah, but
he was really going for it.
But I just got so scared because nothing happened to my bro.
Yeah.
When you come out of the starting gate, and then there was a real hard right, right almost away, right away, and he would not let off the gas until all the other ones were way behind him. He'd go to the very end and skid around.
It was exciting.
He was very exciting.
He had guts.
It was
Yeah.
very exciting.
And he never got hurt. He got hurt practicing one time. He broke his foot hitting a rock.
Yeah, that was a count.
But that was the only thing. Yeah, he was very good with the bike. But as a young adult, he did have a motorcycle accident and fractured his skull.
It was lucky he lived through it.
Yeah, he's very lucky he lived through it. Yeah.
Grandpa found him and blood was coming out of his ears and everything. He was laying in bed sleeping. Didn't know he even had an accident. Somebody hit him.
That's
Yeah,
really scary.
He told me about that. He said as he was coming up this hill, and as he topped out, there was a car sitting sideways in the middle of the road, and he hit that. Next thing you know, he wakes up to an officer, asks him if he's okay,
Yeah.
and the officer didn't call for an ambulance.
Well, he told the officer he was okay. He just wanted to go home.
They
Yeah,
helped him home and put him to bed.
Yeah.
Brought the motorcycle in and everything. It was godsend that Grandpa went in and checked him.
because he saw the bike.
Yeah,
He saw the bike was thrashed.
yeah. But if he wouldn't have been there, we could have lost him.
You know what, you guys? I wrote because this is how I am. I wrote these scratchy notes of things to remind myself to say, and I was going to maybe just throw a few things out there real quick, and it might spark other memories too. I don't know, Betty, especially for you. But I was going to just say that David and I were only 14 months apart. That's really close. So it was just us in the beginning. Of course, I don't have a ton of memories, but I do remember. I actually have memories of you bathing us together when we were like little toddlers. I remember that. I remember. Huh?
He would wait for you, right?
Oh, when I started kindergarten, yeah.
Oh, he
It was
hated
so long.
when she went to
But
school.
isn't that consistent with what you just said? Visiting you at lunch.
Yeah.
When I started kindergarten, he was lonely because I was his playmate. That was it. And so he would just go out on the,
Go out on the driveway and just
wait for me. Sweet. But yeah. But I was going to say that just really David and I growing up, it really, you hear people talk about it all the time, how idyllic it used to be to grow up and to stay out until the streetlights came on. That was our life. That was our life. And especially when the Heights moved in, it was the four of us playing baseball in the street, making, bases out of who knows what, and, playing, and then suddenly you hear car, and everybody goes to the sidewalks, and it was just the best. And parents never looked out, until the,
Never worried about it.
yeah, you never had to worry. I was
And
gonna
the street lights would come on and the counting would start and we would be counting running all the way home.
Yep. I was gonna say, the other thing that we used to do is, we worked so hard on go-karts, the four of us. We tried to build go-karts. They never quite
turned out
that great, but we really, really tried. But we had a wagon, and in those days, we would go around to the houses and ask, do you have any soda bottles that, you want to get rid of? And the four of us would take our soda bottles and then go down. We called it, David, the last time David visited us here, he said, remember the bumpy road? And I just did I hadn't heard that term since I was probably the bumpy road because it wasn't paved.
And a three-legged dog at the end of the bumpy road.
Yeah,
too.
but we would take our wagon down to Manuel's Market, and we'd cash it in, and the four of us would split our pennies, and then we would just, be like for half an hour looking at the candy and the ice cream and deciding how we're going to spend our 16 cents or whatever each of us got. So that was the innocence of our growing up. And I also wanted to say that David, one of the things David was to me is and I think he's done it a lot of times for others as well, but he looked out for me. He looked out for a lot of people, but he looked out for me. And a couple of times I'll tell you about. One was when we were little in the summertime, we would go to the local elementary school and play caroms and whatever, all the, summer recreation, Yorbita, yeah. And we were inside and out, in the air conditioning, out in the sun and heat, and it was just a bad day for me. And one day I'm playing caroms, I don't feel good. I went running home. I was so embarrassed that I got sick in front of everybody. And they grabbed David by the shirt and said, "You're going to come clean your sister's mess up." Poor David. He was such a good boy. He was such a good boy. And then another time when I was probably early teens, and I don't know, Dad was at work, and I don't know, I don't know if it was when you started that job or something, but we were just home alone, and I was very sick with a cold, and I think I thought, well, if you take one of these Dristan for a cold, and if I take two, I'll really feel better. I took too much, and I didn't know that till later, but I remember I got up in the morning, went into the bathroom to use the bathroom first thing, and I fainted dead away. I have no memory of, I remember going in there, and I just remember waking up, and David had run, and he got a blanket, and he covered me up, because I just had my little nightgown on, and he went running for the neighbor and brought a neighbor, but he just took care of me, And those times, you could always count on David. You could always count on David. One more was when I was not a young teen. I was probably 17, and I was going to be getting married right after high school, which I wouldn't recommend, but it worked for me. It worked for me, but Grandpa was really not happy about it, and now that I'm older, I understand. It had nothing to do with the person, but he just felt like I was too young, I needed to go to school, da da da. So he and I were getting into it. You were not home. Grandpa and I were getting into it, and I got sassy with my dad. I was being real smart aleck and making comments like, whoa, like just being very disrespectful to my dad because he was being a dad. And he, at one point, Grandpa said, "You come here." Stand up, Michelle. And he grabbed me by the arm and goes, "You are not going to kill me." And I'm going, "What are you doing?" I'm 17. And I literally said, "What are you doing?" He has this fake thing that I even remember. And David, he says, "You leave my sister alone." He says, "Let's go outside." And Grandpa says, "What? What?" Yeah, he got kind of like, "What?" And he just turned around and walked away. But David's like, "Don't you touch my sister." So that was just it's sweet. It's just very sweet of David.
Yeah, he was sweet.
And then eventually, I would just say too, after my first husband, we moved to Duarte into a little house, Keith, that looked very similar to the one you're just showing, Uncle Charles. The little shack.
Yeah.
It was a little tiny street, and we moved there in Duarte because it was by City of Hope. And we were getting treatment for my first husband at City of Hope. And soon after Ray died, David was looking for a place to live, so David moved in next door to me in a house just like that. So he and I were neighbors in Duarte for a good stretch. And it was during that time that he had a birthday. He had a birthday while he was living next door to me, and my gift to him was Jethro Tull tickets. So he and I went to go see Jethro Tull at the Forum, which was a lot of fun. That to me was a special time, just the two of us. So I think. Oh. I was also remembering the times when we lived in Loma Linda. You guys remember when he started that landscape business?
Oh,
Yeah, he did a lot of help for us. He helped us landscaping in Loma Linda, and we took your dad, Dwayne. Do you remember that yellow truck, that small yellow pickup truck? He had that truck, and we drove into this ditch, the three of
I don't
us.
know why you say we. You didn't do it. I did it.
Well, it is true. I did step out, and I watched them go down in the ditch.
Yeah, we went down there
Careful.
and got those rocks, those boulders, and
Went up into Azusa Canyon.
yeah, she's talking like she did it. She did it.
No, we went. I didn't pick up the rocks. No, I admit that. I totally
But see,
admit that.
now the truth. Yeah. She's
But we went there. But he did all kinds of landscaping for us.
We didn't know we
He
could get
landscaped
them
on
trucks.
Canadian shores.
He did on-
landscaped Rancho Cucamonga around
Did
the
he?
pool.
He did my house in West Virginia.
Him and
too.
Grandpa with the jackhammer trying to get through all the boulders just to plant the palms.
Well, he brought all the boulders up to our house.
He did the neighbors.
I think it
Huh?
He did the neighbor in Rancho Cucamonga too.
Yeah. Quite a few neighbors. Actually.
I thought he was good at that.
Yeah, he was.
In
Oh,
Ontario as
yeah.
well.
Yeah,
He was really good.
Do the rock gardens and stuff.
He was doing rock gardens before they were popular like they are now. But he was very
And he
talented.
was good
That's
at basketball.
probably
We played basketball a few times, and he and I would be on the same team. So he understood the game pretty well. So he, a lot of people wouldn't know that.
Yeah. Well, Don, who gave the prayer today, he said that's one of his favorite memories of David was
Yeah, playing
going out to
basketball.
Ukaipa at the school and playing
Yeah,
basketball
that's right.
with
We
Aunt
got him
Erin.
out there to play. Yeah.
David moved with us all the way out to Arkansas. I mean, he lived with us for so many years. I mean, God, he moved in when you were born over there on Westco Place behind Star Shack. And,
Oh yeah, I remember that
Yeah,
place.
and then Jeff was born, and we decided to move to Arkansas. He went all the way to Arkansas with us to stay with us, and we got out there and come back here. And out there we went fishing at Lake Aspinall. And every time the hook hit the water, you get a bass. I never had so much fun. It was like gambling. And you didn't know if you were gonna get cherries, bars, sevens, or progressive. It was really kind of cool. So he taught me the art of fishing out then. So that was really cool.
Look it up though.
You know,
That
but,
is.
It's
Yeah.
not like a, I think
and he used to like telling the story about the time the first time he ever got in trouble. He got arrested. was for
noticeable,
fishing
you know.
on the wrong side of the lake.
Oh,
Of all
and you guys
things,
called
they took him to LA County for fishing on the wrong side of the lake. And Laura was pregnant with Michelle at the time,
That's the place where they do pennies.
and we get down there and they
Oh,
tell us
yeah, pennies from
it
heaven.
takes 1 to 3 days to get him processed in here. Once he gets processed in, you get 1 to 3 days before you get the forms to turn him in to bail him out. And I'm like, oh, heck no. So I go up to the counter and there's really not a nice looking, attractive, not an attractive man at all. And I go up there, I'm like, hi. I put my hand out on his hand. So, my brother. And I tell him, he's fishy. He got arrested. He goes, what's this number? And I'm like, it's fishing on the wrong side of the lake. Can you imagine that? He's like, really? That's bizarre. So he walks back there. He ends up getting David out within 30 minutes of getting there. David was like so proud of him. He's like, let's roll. Let's go. But yeah, first time we ever got in trouble was for fishing. So lame. LA County, all the way to LA County for just fishing.
Do you have something that you want to do?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wrote something.
Yeah, I think that would be nice.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a writer, so it's kind of therapeutic that way. So I'm just gonna read it like as if I'm reading a book, basically. But sorry if I cry.
No, listen, this is family, so you're fine. Okay.
Losing my dad has been a really hard reality to face. Nothing really prepares you for the loss of a parent, especially when it's so unexpected. You always think you have more time. I am grateful to have had my dad for 36 years of my life, although I feel like that will have never been enough time. He did leave me with many memories, wisdom, advice, lessons, and a bond I will carry with me forever. And so for the past few weeks I've sat and wondered if I had ever put into words the man that is my father. The man who makes a path of who I am. The man I take after in many ways, down to something as silly as our feet or our smiles. The man who I have loved with my whole heart throughout my entire life on this earth, my dad. And he would always remind me and would never let me forget that those two words were my very first words spoken to him. And they say a father is a daughter's first love, and I know this to be true. I know my dad would be so honored to see all of us here for him today. He wasn't one for attention or having a spotlight on him, but I know that this would mean everything to him having us all here, sharing our love for him and celebrating his life together. There is nothing more important to my dad than family. He expressed that many times to me. He loved hard and deeply, and he loved all of us here, even through the highs and lows of life. My dad could be intense at times because he felt things deeply. It's who he was, and it was sometimes a struggle. I know we probably have all experienced this with him. He had his personal struggles, that each of us do, many beyond his own control. But at the core of who he was, I know my dad would want us to focus on all the goodness that made him unique, special, and all the funny quirks, traits, and memories he left imprinted on our hearts. My dad left me with so many wonderful memories. So much of my childhood is filled with these deep core memories I carry close to my heart because of him. Thinking back to when I was young, I can still remember the times we spent together, the trips to Disneyland we would take. They were some of my favorite. He made me photo albums that he gave me right before I turned 18, filled with endless memories that I cherish. And my dad set out to get me photographed as a child with every single character at Disneyland, literally every single one. And I smile at those photos because in half of them he's in them with me, posing like a kid himself. And as a parent now, I know that's a mission to accomplish in a place like Disneyland. Those trips were some of the best. He made Disneyland magical for me, taking me around to get autographs from each of those characters, and as a kid it was everything. I realized just how special he tried to make my childhood for me. While he trotted around, often wearing this one particular yellow shirt he had with my face on it. Something only a dad could do. Even though my time was split between my mom and my dad, he made sure to make our time together memorable. He bought me my first Mickey Mouse fishing pole, and it was something we did when I was young. I can still remember one of the first times fishing with him and how sad I felt for the fish that were caught, and him telling me some long drawn out story about how the fish actually enjoyed coming in for air and seeing us, just to make me feel better about it. Growing up, he had a way of putting any silly worry of mine at ease. in Louisiana and caught fireflies together. And we also went to Six Flags in Atlanta, Georgia, and rode a roller coaster. And it was there that I realized we had the same exact tolerance for roller coasters because after just 2 rides, we were both feeling sick and cheesy, laughing at the fact that we could not hang at all. Another clever moment he had planned that I was unaware of was in Texas. While driving through there, he's going on and on telling me this story about how a scary movie was based out of Texas. And he played it up so well, the storyteller that he was. I knew the exact movie he was talking about, and he knew that I knew. So there we were driving along in this huge big rig, listening to him sing along to some Oingo Boingo. He was quite the singer on that trip. A couple hours go by and it's now nighttime, and he tells me he has to pull over to check the trailer because he thought he heard something and pulls off the side of a dark highway. And he leaves me in the cab just egging me on with this face of complete worry as he goes and checks. And before I know it, unbeknownst to me, comes all the way around to the passenger side and bangs loudly on the door to scare me. He started laughing, and eventually I was laughing with him because I realized he had this plan the entire drive through Texas. He was just waiting for the perfect moment. But that was my dad. He had a bag full of jokes and laughs that he brought out every now and then. And he promised me McDonald's breakfast for a week after that joke, and he made good on that promise. And into adulthood, those are moments we always brought up and laughed about. My dad could be a jokester. He was so witty and could come up with some clever, funny response at the drop of a dime. His sense of humor was unique and something I'll always remember about him. One thing I still smile about is our funny talks about him being bald. He took it with such grace. We joked about that a lot, and he'd laugh and say how he'd take the blame if my boys missed that fade. The jokes with that started on that truck driving journey with him, when he attempted to try out Rogaine for some hair growth. I remember being confused, saying, "Dad, how is this going to help?" And there he was religiously putting that stuff on, explaining how it was going to work, and he just knew it. Now I remember him joking and asking me daily. He'd say, "Shalva, do you see a new hair coming out? I think I see a new hair." And he knew full well there was no new hair, but for laughs and giggles, he'd joke at the expense of his faithful Rogaine use, hoping for a miracle. And later in life, when we would laugh about that, he would always tell me word for word, "I guess I'm just meant to be aerodynamic, Shalva."
Did you know that he grew it on the back of his hand?
He did?
Yeah, that's the only hair
Yes,
that grew in.
I teased him so bad about that. You all
Because
didn't
he
know
would go
that?
like this and
He
spray
grew
it.
it on, it all grew on the back of his hand from putting his hand there and spraying it. You didn't know that? I gave him such a hard time about that.
That's what he said, aerodynamic.
That's cute.
Followed by his great laugh that I love so much. My dad and his stories. I feel like I can stand here and go on and on about all his stories, funny thoughts, and words of wisdom. Sometimes I hear the same story a dozen times over, and every time was like the first time hearing it because of the pure excitement in his voice. That man could talk. You'd get him going on a topic he enjoyed, and he could go on for hours. I'll miss those long conversations with him. Many of the best ones being well into adulthood, when I was able to fully appreciate his great sense of humor for what it was. I'm pretty sure I've never stayed on the phone with anyone as long as I would with my dad. He was like a book, never a dull conversation. A song here, or a meme there, or a joke here. He thoroughly enjoyed conversation. Whatever it was, he was there to listen and give advice. Even if it was me asking him for help on how to fix my toilet, he was there guiding me through step by step. Sometimes I go through our messages and read them just to feel closer to him. It's like my own little social book I have with endless conversations that make me smile. I don't ever want to forget him and his funny ways. The music we share with each other is something I hold close. He was really big on music. I thought I was one of the few who dissected music lyrics that my dad shared when I was with me, and it was just another peek into him and his work, hearing and learning about all his favorite songs, and him being genuinely interested in music I loved. Again, my dad was deep and full of emotion. It's something I admired about him a lot, and I'll never forget him telling me what he felt a certain song meant in their lyrics and just being mind blown because of his ability to think beyond the scope. He was good at that. Picking his brain when it came to music lyrics was something I enjoyed a lot. My dad had a tough exterior and a hunter mentality through and through, but I appreciated how he let that side of him down at times in order to get a glimpse of his heart and soul. He was also a man of God who knew much of what was in the Bible. He talked to me about many things in that regard, about his beliefs and his faith. And today that brings me a lot of comfort because I know he's okay and I know he's at peace. My dad was also there for me through some hard trials of my life, and we related in a lot of ways when it came to that. He gave me some of life's greatest truths at a time when I needed it the most. I knew that he knew what he was talking about. He'd been through it. His life wasn't perfect and he had some difficult trials, but he did the best that he could, and for that I will always be proud of him. For so many reasons I am proud of him. Something about my dad that surprised me and that I hold close to my heart was a trip he decided to make at the end of 2018 to visit me and the boys in San Diego. It wasn't like him to make a trip like that. He was a homebody, and a trip like this one was a task for him, but he was determined to do it. Even after his Greyhound bus left him in the middle of the night, he didn't let that stop him and ended up renting a car. And it was nothing short of a perfect visit. One of my favorite memories of it was for the simple fact of getting to see the immediate bond he had with Jax. He loved the time he was able to spend with his grandsons. And Jax took to him immediately and they were attached at the hip. And that's rare for my son because he tends to shy away from adults, but not my dad. They were inseparable the entire visit. For days on end, I got to enjoy watching my dad be a grandpa playing and listening. Jax had this doctor place it, and my dad acted like a patient for hours as he got his blood pressure and temperature taken over and over. And I finally told my dad that it was okay to take a break from playing with him. But my dad insisted all was good and continued on. The smile on their faces were everything. But what touched me the most was my dad telling me how good it felt to be called Grandpa. Him living in Utah made those moments special and rare, so it was a moment I will never forget. He'd go out for a smoke, and every single time, Jax would stand at the screen door just watching and calling for Grandpa. The bond was strong with them, two Scorpios through and through. And I will always remember what that visit meant to all of us and him. It was perfect. Memories like these are what I have left to keep them alive in my life, as well as my boys. I always want them to know that they had a pretty cool grandpa. A year has gone by since he has passed, and little things will happen now that immediately make me think of him. I'll hear a song or drive by somewhere we visited together. Or I'll hear someone call me Shelba, and I'll think of my dad. It will always feel so different hearing someone else say it because that was his name for me. I was never Michelle to him, always Shelba. And I'll get visits from him in my dreams or just chuckle at some thought that randomly pops in my head about him. And I smile because I truly believe it's him staying close. He used to tell me he talked to his dad and he believed he could hear him, and now I do the same with him. No matter what, he will always live on in me and my boys. Who he was and everything he embodied will stay with me. Sometimes I just want to hear his voice or see his face, so I'll listen to old voicemails or videos he'd send me, or pull out photos. And I don't ever want to forget his voice or his laugh, or his witty personality, or something as small as his dimples or the scar on his head. Just to hear him say I love you helps on those harder days. The one profound thing about death is that love never dies. Even though he is not physically here, he will always live on in everything I do. And I am still my father's daughter long after his death. And I will always cherish the time and all the long conversations we had for the rest of my life. I'm thankful God chose him as my dad. He taught me more than he ever realized. It was a bond between a father and daughter, and it wasn't perfect, but it was ours. Thanks.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Thanks for letting me read it.
Yeah,
Very heartfelt.
yeah, yeah.
Therapeutic, correct?
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's again, we all have, I think, unique experiences each of us have with each other and with David, of course, and what I heard there was just not letting the tougher times go, because I think the good times clearly outweigh the difficult times, and that's really, I'm really happy to hear that. I'm very grateful that you guys shared that, and I'm for all of us. Keith, you guys and the hunting. Do you have it? Are you feeling up to sharing any of your hunting stories or fishing stories or hanging out
There's
stories?
just so many.
I know.
Well, there's that picture right there at the top right.
Yeah.
That was the very first deer that I ever killed, and that was on his tag. He-
Oh, it was on his tag.
It was on his tag. I was not old enough to actually hunt. And he took me out, and it was on a dedicated hunter tag. So we had the bow hunt, the muzzleloader hunt. We went through the bow hunt, the muzzleloader hunt, and we finally got to the rifle hunt. And he was just so fed up with it all, you know. You know, the bow hunt's a month long, and you got the muzzleloader, which was like 2-3 weeks long, and then, you know, and he just felt like it wasn't never gonna happen. And then, like that last day, you know, I was able to harvest that buck before he even finished his cup of coffee.
How old were you?
But we ever did those days,
I was 12 years old.
12? Wow.
And you were there, weren't you, Jeff?
Were
Yeah,
you there
Jeff
at that
was there.
time? You were there, you're in the picture.
Because isn't that the time you came and stopped at the dental office and the dentist and everybody came out to see your deer?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
You know,
That's awesome.
It's meant to be every day that you were out there, then we did it our last day.
Well,
yeah.
that's a very
That's
special
nice.
memory.
Actually, that one there on the bottom left, I believe that was the last year that he took.
Is that right?
I believe so.
Wow.
That's a nice one.
That's really nice.
That was,
Wasn't that DNR
that was
car
with
came
his
by after he told me?
muzzle loader.
What's that, Jeff?
Oh no.
No, that was a different
What
year.
happened?
The muzzle loader?
The muzzle loader is
That was his pass
Black powder?
that he got chosen for last year. The
Yes.
muzzle loader and
it was the
King
mu-
or
Angler.
Yeah, that was the last tag that he drew, but he didn't get to hunt it. He was the only one last year that that I knew that drew out
Really?
for a buck tag.
Really?
Yeah, he was the
Wow.
only one out of everybody I knew.
Isn't that something?
I drew out a doe tag, but yeah, he was the only one that drew out a buck.
Wow.
So what were you about to say, Joe? About another hunt?
No.
He was talking about another hunt where we were messing with this fish and game cop that came by. He asked something. He asked something about shooting deer and hopefully oh, we only shoot the big ones. And a little bit later he comes by and I've got a 2-point laying on the ground.
Whoops.
And he stops. He didn't even come over and check us or nothing. He just stopped, you know.
Did he laugh?
And then he's like, I don't know. I was over there gutting it, and I forget who. I think it was Sadie and you, right? And down towards, you know, where the officer was driving up or whatever. He's like, oh, was it a big one? Oh no, just 2-point. Oh.
Couldn't blame us. It was only the last couple days of the hunt.
Yeah, it was the last. It was down to the nitty gritty.
You can't be so picky.
Meat for the
I remember
freezer.
actually that
Exactly.
that same year, but during the bow hunt, because it was their, you know, the bow hunt came first. During the bow hunt, you're allowed to wear camouflage, you know.
Oh.
And he had bought me a ghillie suit. It's all leafy.
Oh, yeah. yeah.
And so we were hunting, and we were walking this ridge, and we'd actually dropped down the ridge into this hole. And as we were standing there, we turned and looked, and right where we were at, there was 2 really big 3-points running across the top of the ridge. And they ran past us, and out of sight, and all of a sudden we could see 2 deer, you know, heading in our direction from the way they came, or with the way they went. And so we stop and we get ready, we think it's them. Well, no, it was 2 fawn who
Oh.
probably from me to you away, if
Oh,
not
wow.
closer. Came right up and we just stood still because we were all camouflaged out in ghillie suits. They just stood there. They came up and stopped just about as close as you guys are. Just
Wow.
sat there and
Those
looked
ghillie
right
suits work
through
that
us.
good?
Yeah.
Holy moly macaroni.
They-
You'd
then
be
the
right
wind
there
was
and you wouldn't see
blowing
him.
Yeah, they just looked right through us, just
And they
looking
don't
around.
smell your scent or anything?
The
Yeah,
wind
but
must
the
have been
wind
going
is-
in the right
oh.
direction. So,
Okay.
yeah, back then we took it real serious as far as like the scent and
Don't
stuff
they
like
have
that.
like the
Throw the
like,
sand
I
up
remember
in
you
the
guys
air.
like that.
Scent
You
killers.
guys
scent
cover up
killers?
scent.
It smells, yeah, it smells really bad, doesn't it?
Don't
No,
you, didn't you
no,
guys, don't
it's
there different things
it
that
just
have different types of scents? or something?
neutralizes all scents.
Showed me?
Okay.
It's
Like
called-
some of them
there's
pretty
a
bad,
bunch of
huh?
different kinds.
Yeah.
But that was an amazing experience, you know, to
Yeah.
you'd be standing there with my uncle on my very first year hunting, bow hunting, and he's, you know, we've got 2 fawn, just 2 baby deer just standing there
This
looking
is-
right through us for like a good 15-20 seconds before they just slowly walk off.
That's just
That happened to him and I when we were, was it Yellowstone, when we were on our 10-week
That
vacation?
was Zion.
Zion? We were on our 10-week vacation when we were kids, before you married Ray, you did summer before you married Ray.
Oh, the last
And,
vacation.
yeah, the last vacation, 10 weeks. Daddy would get 10 weeks. What we would do in a little camper for 10 weeks. But yeah, he took me off somewhere, and I remember a couple of fun approached us. We were in your guys. No, we were in Monticello because we were in your blind.
Yeah, that's
We had to go
right.
to Monticello because
Yeah.
we were in your guys' blind. That's right. Yeah,
Wow.
remember that.
Well, Jeff, I was hoping you would share about that last time the two of you went out. You took the dogs out or something to a lake or
Fishing?
something?
Oh,
The river?
And,
You kind of told me a little bit about it, and I
call you
think that's
back in
pretty
about a half
special.
an hour. Yeah, everything good?
Yeah, keep that to
Yeah,
myself.
you got home
Oh, you're gonna
okay?
keep that one to yourself? Okay,
Yeah, I'll
That's
call you
okay.
back.
that's okay. Hey DJ, how about you? Do you have any?
Well, I mean, we didn't have a lot of time together, but
Right.
it was pretty cool because we did go rabbit hunting that one time. That's
Oh, yeah?
before-
Okay.
Yeah, that was fun. But there was one time he took me out because he wanted to take me to go shoot his AR, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was pretty funny because we were shooting anthills. I know you know. So,
Yeah.
and I was popping the anthills with him, and he just like looked over and he's all, "So you are my son, huh?" Because I was
Oh.
hitting everything that he was like, "Can you hit this?" And I'm just like, "Bam, bam," and shooting everything with him. And then he pulled out his pistol, and he was like, "Oh yeah." And then that's when I showed him how to shoot his pistol, I guess. And he was looking at me all sideways, and I was like, "Yeah, I know how to shoot too, man." And
Yeah,
it was just,
yeah.
it was cool to like him looking at me and being just kind of like in awe of like,
Yeah,
"Damn,
you
like,
can do this too.
You would have been doing this entire time." you
Right,
know? So
right.
It was pretty cool.
Right. You stayed with him for a while too, didn't
little
you?
bit, yeah.
How long
I
did you
did.
actually stay with him?
I don't remember how long it was. It wasn't super long, but it was a little.
Was it a few months or weeks?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
A month.
yeah. Well,
That,
that's nice.
that was different, yeah, because you
Was
know
that
you
before or
get
after
to
you did with me? After?
before, and yeah, you know, you get to really meet someone, see who they are when you live with them.
It's true.
And it was.
It's totally
interesting.
different.
The
Yeah.
night Dave thing, I
The
always
night
thought they
Dave?
were messing around. Yeah, his sleepwalking escapade.
Oh,
The funniest thing, having him like me waking up and go to make food, and I'm like, oh, go get a plate, and there's like literally like just noodles on a plate or something. I'm like, okay, well go over here, and there's like the
I guess
cheese,
I come by it naturally.
the cheese from the refrigerators in this drawer, and
yeah.
in aluminum foil.
I started that stuff recently, Kelly.
Pretty funny.
Having to deal with that. Must come by naturally.
Well, I remember David, the first time I remember him doing it as a kid, I remember being out in the living room. I don't know why I was up and David wasn't. But he came wandering out of the bedroom and he just went in front of we had a wall heater, and he thought he was in the bathroom. And Grandma had to say, "No, David, David." He's had no idea. He's just being pointed wherever he's pointed.
Tinkled all over the
He was
the
just a
wall.
little guy.
Like a wall unit just on the wall.
And I'm trying to stop him, and there was no stopping him. He,
No, once
yeah, once
you
it
start,
starts, that was it.
it's over. But it was so cute. He had no
I'd
idea.
run into the bathroom with him.
When I lived with them, they had a pool table, and I remember one
Yeah.
of the times, like, we kind of messed around pool, but there was one night me and him were having a good time or whatever, and we go start playing pool, and I feel like he was taking it easy on me, and he let me get an upper hand, and it got to all that, and he was just like, all right, yeah, whack, 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 and all the balls in, he's like, yeah, you thought you almost had me, huh? And I just remember, like, thinking I was so, yeah, he let me get him down to, like,
Wow.
1 or 2 balls left, and then changed the music, and then gave me a whooping, and then I remember just kind of being, like, in awe, and he's like, all right, and
It was good.
it was pretty funny.
Like, that's
for
what
him
we're
to,
dealing
like,
with. Okay.
Let me feel cool for a second, and then
Love playing pool with him.
put me in my place real quick.
He'd
Yeah.
tell me how he had a buddy that he would come over and play pool with him all the time.
Yeah.
Well, he ended up taking the triangle that you rack the balls with, using that as a cue stick, and beating his buddy with that.
David did that?
Yes. Yeah. And the same night, he used a hammer and beat him.
Show off.
Like, yeah, he was just using
Show off.
Yeah, he used a wooden spoon.
With what?
A wooden spoon. Yeah,
as a pool cue.
as a pool cue, and he beat his friend every time. His friend thought he
That's amazing.
yeah, he was
And
really good.
that was David. He liked to have that. He liked to mind screw people. So that was
Yeah.
a little bit of that.
Yeah, that's
going
what
on.
that was.
Oh, I wish you guys could have saw him playing ping pong.
I
Him
know.
and Squig, when they played ping pong,
Forrest Gump.
that was something else. Yeah, no, like I've never seen like, you know, I've seen it on TV. You know, how, you know they're crazy fast and you know, but
Both of them.
to like
Both
see
of
it in
them.
person, you know, you're sitting on the sideline just watching these two guys. I'm telling
Was it on-
there's a big hole in the wall like this where one of them dove backwards to get
Oh
the
my
ball.
God.
Like they took it
At
serious.
his house? At his house?
That was at his
His friend's
buddy.
house?
Yeah,
So his
buddy-
friend had a ping pong table.
Yeah, his friend Squig.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had the ping pong table.
Yeah, he didn't play on the
They
pool
would
table,
go
did he?
over
He
there.
didn't use the pool table for that.
No.
Okay.
No, yeah, he'd go over there every night and they'd play.
That was
ping
their
pong
thing.
every
Master
night.
ping pong.
But there were, yeah, in that room there was, you know, holes in the wall where they would like jump back and hit it
Dive.
and like knock their elbow through the drywall or something. And there was like seriously a hole in the wall like this where somebody's back, you know, one of them just dived and they hit it. They took it so serious. It was so funny. Oh man.
That's cute.
Yeah,
he was-
and
he was
everything was a
competitive.
competition. Everything was.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when me and Jeff, you know, he teaching us how to shoot bows. He'd take a $1 bill and fold it up into a little square, you know, and put that up there. All right, whoever hits it gets to keep it.
Well, didn't it just destroy it?
No,
I mean-
I mean it put several holes in it.
Yeah, okay.
I still have one.
Do you?
I still have one. Yeah, one of them $1 bills still, you know, in the square.
Yeah, I
with a hole
remember
in it.
one of our visits out there, remember when we went and they were doing the bows, yeah. We were taking some pictures of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, we would start shooting, and then as we got tired, he'd be like, "All right, let's motivate you, just put a $1 bill out there, you know, and then bring our groups back in."
That sounds about right.
And you kept moving back and back and back and back till you were shooting out in the street.
Yeah,
When you were
Oh, I
shooting
do
at my
remember you
house.
saying that. You were telling me about that.
yeah, that was almost to the street was 50, and then like right in the middle of the street, 60 yards. That was,
Wow.
we started and we couldn't hit. We had one of them big cement bags, you know, the big white square one. We could at 30 yards, we were missing that thing altogether, hitting the side of
There
the
was a
neighbor's
barn right
barn.
behind it, yeah,
Oh, really?
but they
But
didn't use it, it was,
After, you know, after practicing for so many years, we were grouping like this at 50 yards. It was-
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for what he's taught me.
Of course. Yeah, and see again, that's yet another example. I mean, everybody has their own connection, so I'm happy for that.
You said eventually though you guys got to a point where you surpassed him and he's like, my job is done.
Yeah, there was one day at Grandma's house, we were shooting, we were on the side of the house shooting at 50 yards. And I put 5 out of 5 in a group like this. And he said there always comes a time where the student surpasses the teacher.
So he
that
told
day-
you.
that day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
It was nice, like, you know, once I started getting into it and like, you know, I did a whole lot of research. Like everything I do, I research everything, hunting, whatever it's gonna be, you know, guns, you know. And so it got to the point where I was able to teach him things
Really?
about shooting and like building ARs and like stuff like that. Yeah.
So did he take to it? Okay.
Yeah, and
Good.
like
He was
so I was
open?
able to teach, you know, give him that back in return.
Wow.
And, so like you like really relied on me as far as like firearms go and stuff like that because I did a lot of research. You know.
Right.
I
Right.
built my own ARs and stuff like that. So the one that he had, that he handed down to Jeff, he had me build that one, and you know to exactly what I had built mine to be. So he wanted mine to pretty much, you know, almost be a duplicate to what I had, but they still had their differences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
is she still there?
She's coughing. Kristen, she just wanted to.
Okay.
She's got the COVID.
How you feeling, honey?
I think she went
She's
off to
not
have a
there.
coughing fit.
No.
Poor thing.
How you feeling, honey?
Better.
Oh, good.
Now Andrew has that.
Oh,
We
no.
all
I'm sorry.
Andrew just tested positive. He has a faint line, so that's positive. If you see any line, that's positive.
He has it, but his is faint, and Andy and I were bold.
Right. Did anybody, Kelly or Kenny, did you have anything you want to add? Kelly? Regarding David or any memories?
Computers. When he caught you and Michelle on the computers. Instant messaging and music.
The biggest one to me was just how much of a protector he was, you know, and when Maddie was little, you know, and you know, things were kind of going south with her dad, and we weren't safe, you know. That's all he had to hear, and he was there the next day, you know, with my brothers, and packed us up and moved us up there to make sure that we were safe, and you know, he was always there to help, you know. Without I didn't even know he was coming, you know. I mean, they just showed up, and so I mean, he just always took care of us, you know, whether we realized it or not. You know, he was always protecting us, and you know, that was a really big deal to me. You know, I mean, got us, you know, to a safer place. You know, we had a lot of happy years because of it, living, you know, with Grandma and Sherry, living there, and it just, you know.
Even on the end, we needed him, you know, we left his cell phone.
Yeah.
You know, your friend's house, he'd come and get you and take you.
Yeah, the last time I saw him, I actually I had left my phone. I went to dinner, and at a friend's house the night before and left my phone there, so I had to use like you know, like the internet to call him, and I was just home alone like for a while. I had no way of getting anywhere.
Yeah.
I was kind of stranded there, so I had to ask him to take me out to grab my phone real quick, and he just, you know, that's the last time I had seen him. That wasn't
Vegetation was right
yeah,
there
that
for us.
wasn't long before, you know,
No, that's
the end
David
of
though.
everything. But yeah, he was
Usually
just
right
always
there.
there to help and protect us, and that's just the biggest thing that I remember of him always, you know.
Yeah,
And so I always loved that about him.
yeah. Yeah.
I thought you were gonna do the floats for these kids.
Yeah, does anybody have anything else they want to share? Anybody, are we good?
I mean, I have one memory of Dave
Okay.
that I always hold on to. I remember when we went out there, we went up a bunch of times to Utah. And one time we went up with her brother, her cousin, and her dad would always take us out shooting. He had this one place that he would go to. I forget, it's a dirt lot somewhere way out there by his house. And we would shoot just rocks and stuff. And he had his 22s and some other rifles. He was teaching us all how to shoot. We were all trying our best. And I remember he brought out his 30-06, I think, his big guns. I said, "You guys want to shoot something, huh?" So he brought out this gun and he was showing us it and teaching us how to shoot it. And I remember trying to shoot it and looking through the scope, and I couldn't hit what, you know, the scope was on. And then your brother tried, and everybody tried, and then finally Michelle tried. Michelle lines it up and she hits it bullseye. And I remember him looking at her just with love in his face, just like, that's my girl right there, like little Annie Oakley. She was so proud because all those guys couldn't hit the shot, but Michelle just.
So what?
So proud. He was just so proud. I remember that. He was very proud of
cute.
you.
That's cute. Anybody else? Cause
This past weekend, this past 4th of July weekend, it was a really good weekend. We were able to go up to the mountains, you know, with the kids, and we got to go visit them.
oh, did you?
Yeah.
Went out to that site?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Anytime we go up there, anytime I go up to my hunting area,
Yeah.
I make sure to go by
I haven't
there.
done it yet, so holding on to this
And
little
we,
bit. I would have been saying.
Yeah, we couldn't go to the, you know, camping spot that we wanted to hang out at because there was a lot of people up there camping. But
Yeah.
We found a nice little spot to hang out.
Uh-huh.
And we put up the hammocks and laid out, and the girls went and picked flowers. Tammy
Yeah.
and Sadie and made little
Nice.
bouquets.
That's sweet.
So after our little, you know, hangout, up there. We drove up the road to where he laid his ashes, overlooking Cedar Breaks. And laid him some flowers.
That's nice. That's nice.
Whenever we come from the second round, my second regime of chemo and stuff, and we went up there, that's when he took me up to Yankee Meadows, and it was like, I never seen anything so beautiful in my life. I just cried. You know, it was just so important to him for him to take me up there. That's why it was really important to have a little bit. And I still haven't been able to do it, but that's where he needs to be there too. There's that little piece of heaven on earth that he showed me. Made me not
He
afraid.
loved Utah, that's for sure. He really did like Utah. That was his lane, for sure. For sure.
Yeah, did him well. It brought his what he loved, hunting. That's like his
I just
life.
think that he also, I think he had the most peace
Yeah.
too there. And something, I think the environment
Better quality of
was
life.
for him.
The
That was
hustle and
his-
bustle of the city was too much.
Well, it's like grandpa, like dad,
Yeah.
the same thing.
Right,
but-
what he liked, Wrightwood, Culver.
Yeah,
Get in the city, it's just too much.
yeah, exactly. So I'm just
People
very
are
happy for
different.
all the joy he got out of that, for sure.
And there was one year right after he left Rubber Paint
Yeah,
where he stayed on the mountain because it happened to be during the hunt.
yeah.
He stayed up there for a month and a half.
What?
A month and a half he stayed up there.
Wow.
Camped out. And I had some vacation time, and I went up there and spent that time with him. And then every weekend I was off, I'd go up there, but he spent an entire month and a half straight up there.
That was a dream.
That's
of those
commitment.
guys who wanted to be there.
Mountain
Yeah.
man.
And he absolutely loved every bit of it.
I bet. Well, see, I mean, that's not something that everybody would enjoy, and he got to do that. So I'm
And
happy
that was
for
back
him.
when we got rain. And we got monsoon
Back in the day.
seasons back in August, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was a lot of times where he hunkered down under the tarp or in his tent, but he was home.
Well, we used to, when we were kids, we had this little fence that we would keep the dog on the side of the house, and so there was a little fence that Grandpa made on the side, you remember, and we would take blankets and pin them to the top and have them make these little sad little tents. That was where it all started.
Well, he made a little fort out of cardboard.
Oh, we've done that too, but we would
We got the little
somehow
carpet
pin
samples
the
and made-
blankets in,
Yeah.
and we'd fan it out and
We
camp,
used to set
camp in the
traps for
backyard.
mice and
Oh, yeah, and birds too.
birds. And
Yeah, yeah, all started on Ontario Street. But he took it,
we'd bring birds
ultimate.
home, little baby birds that fell out of the nest, and we try to save their
We
lives.
saved the whippoorwill.
And one day he come walking in with this great big tortoise. Look what was walking down the street.
I remember that.
That was in Broadmoor. Stayed all the way to Broadmoor. I don't know what. He lived in Broadmoor.
But he also,
inherited it with the house.
Yeah, it was a nice.
wasn't there also a small, he had a small turtle that got
Yeah.
lost and we never found it in the house again?
Yeah.
He told us a story about how he caught a bunch of lizards
Oh yeah.
one year for a pet shop who had an ad in the
Yeah.
newspaper or something.
Yeah,
Asked
we
him.
Gonna
did.
like renovate the house.
See, who would think, I mean, that's just,
And he had
David, your
something
man.
like over 100 lizards. Yeah, he would let
I mean,
them all
seriously,
go
David's your
inside
man.
Well, by the time he collected enough to where he wanted to go and sell them, they had enough, and they did. It was something for a movie or something.
It
They
sounds like a
needed
nightmare, actually.
lizards. And they didn't need him anymore, so he had a big release out in the field.
He would tell me how he'd release, like, let them all go. Did you guys have like an enclosed patio?
No,
No, something like that.
just enclosed backyard.
Like with screens or something. Like, I remember him saying that how he would release these lizards and they would be climbing all over the walls and everything, and he'd catch them all again and put them all back. And
God help us, that was probably his bedroom. We never knew it.
I'm pretty
Knowing
sure it was
David.
outside,
No.
from what I remember.
As you're talking, this is making me nervous.
Connecting
It's
dots
better than
now.
I'm just finding out.
Gotta go check
Things
your
are starting to make
pillowcase.
sense. It's like, wait a minute.
Seriously, because that was David.
Yeah, he said he would release them and just re-catch them all.
I remember
Just a
when he
bunch
brought
of
one in to show me. And he says, "Look, isn't he cute?" And the thing latched onto a stick.
Oh no.
And I pried it loose and there were little teeth all in his finger. I had to pull out with tweezers.
The teeth get stuck in your finger.
Probably an alligator lizard. Those ones are kind of neat. Those bluebells.
Well, he was trying to
aren't very
pet it,
mean.
you know.
They might bite you, but they're not that
He couldn't get it off though.
bad.
I think he was trying to mold me for that because he took me one time just catching salamanders. It was really benign.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I used to love those salamanders. They were cute.
Those are pretty cool. I caught a couple in my friend's window well in Enoch a couple years
Yes.
ago. Remember that, Jeff?
Yes.
Catching in Adam Allen's window wells. For some reason, there was a couple salamanders down
David
there,
Lambert,
water
too.
lizards. Oh, there
I
was
haven't seen salamanders since I was a little girl. I didn't know they were just thing of the past, like you know how things just evolve out.
Yeah, no, they're in there in the lake still.
That's where my brother took me.
Well, anybody, Jeff, have anything? Any fun times to tell about? Oh, come on, I know you got some. A lot. Like anything from your Arkansas days when you were a little guy, he was out there. He lived back there with you guys for a while. Anything from the childhood?
He was so little there. That's when he
Yeah.
got lost with the big wheel and I was the dog, yeah.
You just were little.
Yeah, I barely have like memories from that place.
Yeah, that's true. You look pretty good.
But there,
Huh?
One thing he did tell me when the very last time I got to spend time with him, I never thought I'd ever hear him say it. He said that he didn't have any interest in hunting
What?
anymore, like shooting a deer himself.
Really?
He just wanted to see us shoot them.
Really?
I never thought I'd ever hear him say that. Yeah.
You want to know, and maybe you've heard this too, but you know that happened with Grandpa eventually, where he reached his, like I'm done. I have no interest. So it's interesting that David reached that same point.
Lizard under Michelle's butt.
Michelle, you're gonna step on the lizard.
Oh hell no.
Got
Is
away.
it really a lizard?
That was weird.
It's under your
It's
chair.
under her
Sadie,
chair.
get this lizard.
Ginger, it's under her chair, seriously.
Just see Cody
Look
freak
under,
out about
look
it
under.
over there.
Just a
Look
lizard.
under.
Stop freaking out. Sadie will get it.
I see his tail.
You see, I told you. That's his way of telling me they really were released in the bedroom. See?
It's coming out
knew it.
Michelle's way, the front.
There he is.
All right, David.
Oh, jeez. I never like those things.
You're all over this
She
place.
doesn't know where to go.
They are. Did you get him?
Maybe that's telling him
He's in your oxygen tank.
to come out at night and they
There he goes. He's under the chair.
get the sun.
Mine?
Yes.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
He's not on the chair.
You know,
He's supposed to have.
He's gotta go somewhere else. I
Where'd he
don't like it.
go? Cause he's
Careful.
scared.
Is he scared?
Yeah, cause
Okay, I tell you what, you guys.
he won't touch. You went
Yeah.
over here.
He's afraid they'll hurt him. Yeah.
Oh, he's right there.
Say hi.
I saw Wizard.
Quick, didn't she?
You saw Lizard.
For 20 minutes.
I saw
That's
Wizard.
cousin Kristen. Say hi, cousin Kristen.
No, Penny.
I saw Wizard.
Like, not asleep with me next to me.
So you know what, you guys? You know what we were thinking is one of the things
He's over here now.
from our childhood. I think you would remember this too,
I
Betty.
found him.
Is one of the special treats we would have as a dessert sometimes was a root beer float. So we're thinking maybe having some root beer floats because David loved them when he was a kid.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
guys are
he is.
interested. But one thing that I was hoping to do too,
He's under the pile.
just guess,
Yesterday?
since I'm not,
So hard to
Miss Picture here. I thought maybe we could do a little group photo here
Here it comes.
and hold David's photo up
He's under here.
That was
as a kind of a tribute to
What we
David.
were doing earlier. Imagine if we would have tried that.
So, Kristen, I'm going to call you back on the iPad in a minute once I get everybody and have you in it too. Okay?
Did you know that
I mean, when
Okay. I'll call you back.
Huh?
Okay. Okay. Bye.
Who is it?
She'll be knocking on the neighbor next door to come over here.
we should have taken one earlier though, because when's the next time that all those people are going to be under the same roof, you know?
I'm afraid to put my feet down there.
Bugsy, I can't even believe you.
Where'd he go?